let's talk about masking.
So we had a paired debates in Sensible Medicine, one after the other. And one was Catherine Sarskian, professor at UCLA. And she was working at the VA hospital, which has dropped the mask mandate for staff. Like they don't have to wear masks in the team rooms and in the hallways. And I don't think they even have to wear masks with patients. Like unless if the patient is sick and has some special mask precaution.
This is VA in general or just one?
All
VA?
VAs. I think it's a national VA policy. And if the staff is sick, well, you shouldn't be at work. Okay. Like, right. So being a mask on or whatever. And the masks we're talking about are not N95s, of course. They're these, the baggy surgical masks, the crappy, cheaply spun polyester surgical masks. It's different than the surgical masks from pre-pandemic. They're making them for like cheaper and shittier
it's like
than
they
ever
kind of downgraded. It used to be like, I still have a stash from pre-pandemic. They're like, I put them in amber because I want to save them.
It's like drinking a real root beer,
with actual like root.
Like, Barilla. That's Barilla. It's like real good shit back then. The real good mask.
Mask Barilla.
Now we got the shit mask. Okay, so she's on rounds. They don't got to wear it. And then they're like two interns. It's always a young person, by the way.
Yeah.
Who are wearing the mask. And she's like, why are you wearing the mask? And like, well, I just trained wearing masks in the pandemic. I'm just more comfortable wearing it. And she writes a really elegant article arguing very provocative stance, which is that like, she thinks it's unprofessional for them to wear the mask.
Ooh.
Okay. She's like, first of all, these vets, they're not as worried about the doctor transmission stuff as the doctor.
Yeah.
Two, they want to see a face. They want to hear your voice.
Yeah.
It's difficult for hard of hearing patients.
Yeah.
Seeing a face is part of care, providing the comfort of being a doctor. And unless you have a really strong rationale or evidence for this policy, which, by the way, of course they don't. They've never done any appropriate study to prove that universal masking, certainly not in 2024, improves any outcome for anyone. They didn't do that in 2021. They didn't do it in 2024.
Sounds like MOC.
Sounds like MOC. Sounds like a good question for MOC.
Yeah.
Sounds like MOC itself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So so she argues that maybe even a little further than I would go, that like they should not be allowed to do it.
Ooh. Ooh, provocative.
And then the counterpoint was from somebody who says, look, I don't do it, but you've gone too far. If they want to do it, let them do it, but I just don't do it. And maybe, let them have, and it made me think of the analogy, which is that every once in a while I'm sitting at the computer station and someone comes to sit at the computer next to me and they bust out the chlorhexidine wipes and they're like wiping and wiping and scrubbing the monitor and wiping the thing and scrubbing the keyboard. And then they're like throwing all these wipes. And I'm like, why are you so worried about infectious disease? You should be worried about all the carcinogens you just deployed.
No.
I'm like, also like, it's just like OCD,
It is.
It's like washing your hands.
It's a control thing.
It's a control thing.
And OCD. Yeah.
OCD. It's like washing your hands 50 times an hour for no reason.
Yeah.
Until they're like bleeding knuckles and stuff.
Yeah. In which case it's even worse, right? Because they've done, I forget there was data.
Yeah. If you disrupt the
epithelium.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is interesting, right? Yeah. Because it gets to, again, a little bit of the culture war around masking. Like you should not be allowed to do it, but she's saying, well, for these reasons, that it's bad patient care. But then people are able to do bad patient care all the time. And there's no data saying it actually harms. There's no data saying it helps. So you could say, well, it should be then the physician's choice. If she's OCD or he's OCD and they want to do it, that's okay. But just the conversation, just the discussion is actually infinitely helpful because it shines the light on this whole thing, this whole madness.
I saw some comments are saying that it's important to allow them to do it, so I know which doctor not to go to.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Half of them are saying one doctor and the other saying the other.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, you pointed at something that was important, and you said this during pandemic too, which I think was interesting, like that people writing these articles that were the most fear-mongering about COVID, by personality, were the more germophobic, obsessive kind of. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. You are who you are, right? But we should at least be clear that who you are does influence what your stance is. And it's almost like you should disclose on both sides who you are. Like maybe the person who was against masking is somebody who just is also a libertarian and doesn't want you to take her guns or something. You could say, okay, well, that's a personality that would be more against like putting a cover on someone's face or something, at least in the current political climate.
That's an interesting question. Like, how far does the doctor's personal preference go? Like, for instance, what in the rebuttal, this guy made the point that, both people talked about the HIV/AIDS epidemic, And Catherine Sarskin made the point that in HIV/AIDS, there were doctors who said, I will not do a procedure on an HIV/AIDS patient because I'm worried about getting it. And she said that like wearing the mask is a similar kind of thing. It's like an irrational response to a risk that's out of proportion and stigmatizing the patient. The respondent said there's a difference. He said like after the HIV/AIDS epidemic, if you didn't do a procedure on an HIV patient, but you did one on a non-HIV patient, that's discriminatory.
Right.
But if you just started to have universal glove precautions, that's prudent. Like that's fair. Like it's not selecting and picking people. And wearing a mask for everybody is not stigmatizing any one person, you know? That's his counter argument.
I see.
Okay, but then I was thinking, I actually knew like when I was rounding in internal medicine as a resident, there was like one resident who would always wear gloves, like every patient. And it was a little weird. Like, like even for like, you know, just listening to the chest, you know? They were clearly OCD, or, you know, or like were germophobic. And it looked, and I think many people were like, felt a little insulted because like 5 doctors on the team are not wearing gloves.
And then it's
and
like,
one person, and like has to put a glove on before they even, oh, hold on a second before I can touch you at all. And so similarly, like, I think there are some, I'm sure there's many vets, by the way, it's a vet population. And by the way, vets are probably not indestructible and they're not the pro-masking contingency.
Correct. Yeah.
They're not the pro-masking. And probably many of them think like this person's a moron and like, or they're insulted or like, do they think I'm giving them, am I a pariah to this person?
They're reacting in a way that's coming from that conditioning that they have. Now, it becomes just an interesting question. I don't know there's an answer here, but it's worth like exploring like, okay, so what are the issues? And what you just did was actually go pro and con this idea and that idea and then kind of trying to weigh it out. I think what people are, I think the lesson here in my mind is, can you look at an issue like this and a question like this in a relatively objective way using that approach without automatically falling into your bias? And you will have a bias. Like my bias would be, hey, I know that when I see someone's face, I'm getting a therapeutic relationship. And when I don't, it's very different. You know, I have a story that I just popped in my mind that I'd forgotten about. When I was very young, I had a family dentist and a really great guy, Japanese dude. And we loved this guy. And over time, he started getting more with the program of what the dental industry was saying, which is wear a mask, wear gloves. And it used to be he would just sing gloveless, poking in your mouth. Crazy shit like
Herpetic
that.
Whitlow finger.
Whitlow, exactly. I was like, ooh, yeah, is that Candida or are you just happy to see me? And man, you are hyphy. And as he started gloving and masking, there was a real clear sense that I don't know if I like this guy as much. Like he doesn't trust me in some way, or there's a barrier now that wasn't there. And of course there's a balance. Like you don't want your bare hands in someone's mouth. And you know, if you're a dentist, being this close to someone's face, probably a mask maybe makes sense there, but there was an emotional reaction. So these are real. These are human things that you can't quantify, but they're there. How do they affect care? How do they affect the placebo effect? How do they affect the therapeutic alliance? And then the hearing thing is a big one. Like reading lips is really, I was talking to someone hard of hearing and they said they didn't realize how much they read lips until the masking started. And they just couldn't understand anybody.
I guess I feel like I'm not at Catherine's level in part because I have a first order problem, which is that, you know, the hospital I work, SFGH, to this very day, they have the masking policy in place.
Still. Well, it's San Francisco.
It's completely brain dead, no evidence. And the difference is it's compulsory. They force you to wear it even when you don't want to wear it.
Wow.
You know, they're forcing you to do this. I think
it's expensive too. It starts to add up.
It's supposed to expire at the end of the month and there's no like renewal order. They don't admit they're wrong. They just let things silently expire. So hopefully that'll be the end of it. So I think that's a battle to have first.
Right.
And then the other corollary is that I didn't want to push too much. I mean, I'm kind of curious is that, you know, she wants to pull, I mean, to some degree to like tell him, take the mask off and show your face and be a good doctor kind of thing. When I was training in 2005, you could tell people things like that. Like I could actually say as attending, the fuck are you doing? Take the mask off. Are you sick? Are you sick? If you're sick, go home. And if you're not sick, take the mask off. I want to see your face. It's an important way you communicate. And, you know, and also like, what are you so worried about? You're worried about getting a cold? Come on, you're 22. You look healthy to me. And then you're like, well, I'm immunocompromised. I have asthma. You're like, that's actually not immunocompromised. Like, okay, that's called a weak spirit, but okay, that's not actually immunocompromised. You're just a weak person making some bullshit up. Okay, fine. So you can say it as attending. Now, you could never say that to somebody. You could never say talk about their mask.
No, you get your funding canceled.
You get fired. You get canceled from teaching service. She might be able to do it because she's probably like a beloved person, has a lot of cash. But then I was also thinking that when I trained in 2005, you could it wasn't always appropriate in my mind, but you could comment on somebody dressing not professionally enough. I was once scolded for not wearing a tie on rounds.
Yeah, me too.
Which I think whether or not like tie may not be good to wear, even it's got like an infectious risk or kind of thing. Like, I think that's pushing it too far. But now you can't comment if somebody comes in dressed like a backup dancer in a 1980s music video. I'm like, you cannot say anything. And I'm like, you're wearing like sweatpants, dirty, stained sneakers. You look like a fucking schmuck. And I'm like, nobody will respect you. I was like, look, I'm not saying you, I personally wear a suit, no tie, but I do wear a suit every day on rounds. I'm trying to send a message, and the message is I'm competent. You know, like I know what I'm doing. I'm a professional. And some of these people, I'm like, the way you're going in, you're dressed in terrible clothes, like you're Mark Zuckerberg 2007 in your hoodie, and you're wearing the mask. I mean, you're not sending the message to the person that we know what we're doing, I would think.
To me, and this is the thing, you get canceled for saying this shit now. To me, these guys don't understand what medicine is. They think it's this reductionist thing where you're clicking boxes and you're doing it. What does it matter what I'm wearing? No, what you're wearing is part of the therapy. It's part of the experience for the patient. It's part of the feeling that somebody actually cares enough to get the fucking clothes that make them look like a professional.
And you know, good restaurants know this too.
They, of course.
Like a shitty restaurant, there are people wearing all sorts of things. But good restaurants, they have a uniform. And in really like high-end Michelin restaurants, they like, it's an experience.
It's a whole experience.
And, you know, I'm not saying like, again, you know, it can be too much. You can like criticize someone's tie or their, you know, whatever, their ill-fitting suit. Like,
it's a spectrum.
It's a spectrum. But like, it's gone so far. The thing is, you literally cannot say anything.
No,
I would never say anything.
You can't say
anything.
You can't say anything. And it's true in the high schools too. It's true like all over, like the way, and then now I'm just becoming a grumpy old man.
I know.
But like my daughters are fairly like, culturally, like they're like, God, the way these kids dress, Dad. I'm like, these kids, they're your peers. And then I go to school to drop them off and I'm like, what parent let their kid go out like that? And it's just, again, because humans we're visual creatures. We have this relational aspect. You should be intentional. Now, let's say that's your intent. This is what you want to convey. Fine. But be clear that that's what you want to convey. But you can't say it doesn't matter what I wear. You can't say that.
And you know, like a lot of things, somebody starts coming late all the time. You can't even say that. You can't say like, oh, you know, medicine is the kind of field where we show up on time. Like that people are elected to do
because that's somehow culturally like, well,
that's a microaggression.
It's a microaggression. It's like, well, against who? Like,
against people who are untimely.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Get the fuck here.
No, you don't call them untimely people anymore. You call them the untimed.
Oh, no. People who are occasionally untimed or something.
Right.
Yeah, there's some. And then what about like, somebody was like assigned to your camera out of focus.
Oh, suddenly I'll fix that. Thank you. There we go.
Okay. So then, and somebody was like missed, like on a 4-week rotation, we're missing like 5 days because they're going to the dentist. And like, you can't question, you know, back when, like I tell people, I went to the dentist before I started medical school and when I was a professor. And now you're going to the dentist 4 times.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. And I have the crooked teeth to prove it.
Yeah, me too.